This lopsided, unfair US-UK treaty right from the beginning. I'm delighted now that politicians from all parties are campaigning against it. It is wrong. It is simply wrong for this government to have signed a treaty in secret which sells our rights down the river while it protects the rights of American citizens. And it's certainly wrong to send a vulnerable young man to his fate in the United States when he could and should be tried here instead. It is simply a question of doing the right thing. Gordon Brown once said he had a moral compass, which seems to me on this issue he's seriously lost that moral compass. He should find it fast, try Gary McKinnon here at home, protect his rights, but also protect the rights of all British citizens. Janice, I'm not going to run again.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
To the USA!
No way to the USA!
Gary stays in the UK!
Gary stays in the UK!
I said no!
No!
I said no way!
No way!
I said no way to the USA!
No way to the USA!
Gary stays in the UK!
Gary stays in the UK!
How can a treaty be one-sided?
How can a treaty be one-sided?
Evidence must be provided!
Evidence must be provided!
Gary, he's our man!
Gary, he's our man!
If we can't have him, no one can!
We can't have him, no one can!
Gary stays in the UK!
Gary stays in the UK!
Fascinating stuff. The cliche does hold true, doesn't it, Tom? This week has been a very long time in politics.
Well, it's lasted a week. It's felt from where I've been standing like it's lasted about 65 years. But anyway, I would have said it was looking like it was over now as they all went into their departments and things would go quiet. But clearly with the Miliband brothers going head-to-head, that is not going to be the case. I think the reality is, I say it's going to go quiet. It won't, of course, because one of the things you find out, as I said in my report, is that you try and get some peace and quiet in government, and it never happens because things come at you. For example, we know that the decision on Gary McKinnon, the computer hacker who's supposed to be extradited to America, must come soon. Both the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats have said it would be absurd to send him there. Tricky issue. They've got to make a decision now.
All right, Tom, thank you.
In London tonight, don't extradite Gary. Will the new Deputy Prime Minister live up to the support he offered Gary McKinnon 5 months ago? Good evening to you, I'm Ben Scotchbrook. Don't extradite Gary McKinnon to the United States, try him here. The words of Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg 5 months ago. Well, the computer hacker from Wood Green is hoping, now that Mr Clegg is Deputy Prime Minister, he'll ensure Gary isn't sent to America. His supporters claim the extradition treaty between the UK and the US is unfair, as Glenn Goodman reports.
Janice Sharp is a lifelong Labour supporter who was overjoyed to see a new Tory Lib Dem government. Now, that's not as contradictory as it seems when you consider that the Tories and Lib Dems may be her only hope of saving her son Gary from up to 70 years in prison.
I could not believe that Labour have eroded so many civil liberties, have actually basically sold out their own people with this treaty, whereas no one needs any evidence to extradite a British citizen.
The extradition treaty has been criticised as being one-sided because British citizens like Gary McKinnon can be sent to the US for trial, but it doesn't necessarily work the other way round for American citizens. Gary McKinnon hacked into Pentagon computers in 2002. He says he was trying to find evidence for the existence of UFOs. He suffers from Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism, and his mental health has suffered in recent years. Both the Tories and the Lib Dems have previously condemned the extradition plans. So Janice Sharp has thrown down the gauntlet to the government. She's written to Nick Clegg asking for the extradition to be halted immediately. Mr Clegg actually used to campaign on behalf of Gary McKinnon.
I think it's just wrong. I think it is morally wrong to send a vulnerable young man to trial and imprisonment in the United States when he could be tried here. Don't extradite Gary McKinnon to the United States. Try him here instead.
Well, it's given him more hope, but in actual fact, I think yesterday he's actually worse than he's ever been because he's very scared, and he thought that it would happen right away because as soon as they got in, they would immediately, put an end to his misery, basically. But I'm sure it's going to happen, over the weekend, you know, today, Monday, I'm sure they're going to keep their promises, because otherwise it would show that it was just more people who didn't want to live up to their promises, and I don't believe that.
Glenn Goodman, London Tonight.
OK, let's learn a bit more about this now. We're joined by Melanie Riley, the spokesperson for the Free Gary campaign. Hello to you. So Gary McKinnon's plight has triggered a review of the UK-US extradition law, which was widely seen as one-sided. Does this mean that London is taking a more stern stance in its relations with Washington and showing that it will not appease to America's every request anymore?
Well, I think it's a very positive step by this government, and I think it's a sign of perhaps a rebalancing of the US-UK relationship. I think previously British citizens felt that their interests were being reduced in favour of a very close US-UK relationship, and perhaps this case has shown that sometimes the British government needs to stand firmer in terms of respecting the rights of British citizens.
Now, Gary McKinnon's extradition has been halted for a medical re-examination. Could you tell us a bit more about his condition and what prompted him to perpetrate such a large-scale hack?
Look, Gary is a computer obsessive, if you like, a computer nerd. He hasn't got any malice in him, but what his Asperger's syndrome does do is encourage this obsessional behaviour. So he was simply looking for UFOs. He was convinced, and had convinced himself over time, that the Americans had evidence of UFOs that they were trying to cover up. And so with his computer skills, he was able to try going looking for it and searching for it. But of course he now recognises that what he did, which was, and what he freely admits to, is looking in, getting unauthorised access into US computer systems. And he now recognises, of course, that that was wrong. But what he doesn't accept is the level of damage that the US authorities claim that he has caused.
OK, so we understand that Gary does have a medical condition, but he is still accused of what America is calling a serious crime. If he's not extradited, will he face criminal action back in the UK?
Well, that's for the Crown Prosecution Service in the UK to decide, and we know the people who support Gary have absolutely no problem in his case being properly investigated and all the evidence being put before a British court. What we do have a problem with is sending him thousands of miles away from all of his support network, his friends, his family, etc., to face the same trial, because ultimately he would not cope with that, and all the medical experts have shown that he is on the brink of suicide, and we just think that's utterly disproportionate when we have a perfectly good judicial system over here in the UK that could look at the alleged crimes that he's supposed to have committed and could decide whether or not he should be prosecuted and then sentence him appropriate if he's found guilty.
OK, from the Free Gary campaign, Melanie Riley, live from London, thank you very much.
Sit yourself down.